Wow. And then we are already on the stage. And this is my 8th podcast, just number 8. But this is so lucky number also because, like you and me, I'm so in love with my mother. And my mom, she is born the 8th. So it should be one of the best podcasts ever. And I know it will be. So, okay. Hello, everyone. And welcome back to another episode of Diversity is the Game Changer. And the name of our magnificent episode today. And you know what? It's already just 8 podcasts, and I have already stumbled with the problem of choosing the title. Because everything that is related to Las Vegas can never ever be just a bit attractive, just a bit emotional, just a bit glamorous, because we are talking about Las Vegas, baby, right? So, you, my magnificent audience, should help me to choose the title by giving your valuable feedback afterwards. Because, anyway, the first name of our title, I named like this. The first 2 letters in profit is PR, right, Bruce?
Yes,
And
no,
the second name, iconic Bruce and legendary Elvis, are Mama's Boys. And believe me, very soon you will get the idea why I have chosen those 2 names. So really very diverse beginning of our show, right? So welcome. I'm your host, Valeriya Hjertenæs. And today I have a truly legendary guest who has not only witnessed but shaped the global entertainment industry as we know now today. So please join me in welcoming the iconic Bruce Merrin.
it is
Welcome.
my pleasure to say hello to you, Valeriya, from Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world. And you look beautiful and glamorous. I'm honored.
Thank you so much. I'm beyond the honored and a little bit more because I don't know. It was so tasty to choose all these gems. How I should present you, and it's really ocean. So it was really difficult, but I try to be brief. Bruce is not just the mastermind behind the renowned Celebrity Speakers Bureau that has been a driving force in shaping the entertainment industry for over 50 years, but the greatest champion to spot talent and bring together remarkable individuals by curating a legacy that has left an indelible mark on Hollywood. From the sharp-witted repartee of Johnny Carson to the sincere warmth radiated by Michael Landon, from the unparalleled magnetism of Muhammad Ali, and to the most captivating meeting with the legendary Elvis Presley, Bruce has become so powerful by compelling tales from the very heart of Las Vegas and entertainment global industry. So please join me in embarking on unforgettable and really diverse show today. This will be a journey of the glitz, glamour, and untold secrets of the stars through the eyes of the man, Bruce Merrin, with his mission to bring their voices to the world. Bruce, like I said, it's unbelievable honor to have you here and welcome to the podcast. And
Thank
I would
you.
like to start.
Pleasure.
I would
My
like to start.
pleasure.
I have recently made my homework and probably, I don't know, you're already my relative. I know everything about you, but I'm so privileged because I couldn't discover any podcast who actually start with this topic. So I would like to address, and the first segment is named Return to Ukrainian Legacy, right?
I like it. Yes.
I was deeply touched to learn that your grandparents hailed from Odessa, right? A city in my beloved Ukraine with such a rich history. The story of your family must be a remarkable one. One shaped by both cultural heritage, vibrancy of the region, and the historical challenges that had defined it. I can only imagine that stories that carried your family, stories of hardship, survival, and most important, hope. I'm sure they have been passed down through the generations. So my very first question is, of course, about your family, about the impact of your grandparents and your beloved mother, and we will be talking about this subject particularly more, I know. But let's talk about your traditions and values in your family and how you, Bruce, my dear Bruce, how the story of your family and, of course, the story of little Bruce And maybe Odessa legacy continues still to resonate in your lifetime journey. Could you tell a little bit your heritage?
No, I'll be happy to. And I love when you talked about your beloved Ukraine, because yes, you're absolutely right. All four of my grandparents were born and raised and lived in Odessa. And back when they were living there in Odessa, all four of the grandparents, the Russian Revolution started. This was around 1917, somewhere around there. So all four of the grandparents wanted to leave Russia. They loved Odessa, but they wanted to leave because there was a war going on and they were afraid that they wouldn't live, that they would die. So all four of the grandparents went to the United States. They landed in New York City. So my grandparents on my dad's side, they lived in Brooklyn, New York. My
Okay.
mom's parents lived in the Bronx, New York. And what I can tell you is I owe everything in my life to my mom. Everything that I've accomplished, everything I owe to my mom. But it all started in Odessa and with those grandparents arriving in New York City. And my mom grew up in the Bronx. My dad grew up in Brooklyn. And they have a beautiful love story. They wound up meeting each other, not in New York, but in Missouri at the very famous journalism school, University of Missouri. But
Okay.
again, back to my mom, I owe everything in my life to my mom. Everything that I've accomplished, God bless her. She's up there in heaven. She lived to be 98, so she had a beautiful life.
Absolutely. And I'm so touched because I am also mommy's girl. And, we don't speak today about my childhood, which was also in Ukraine, but in Kherson, it's the black sea city, which is closest to Odessa. Odessa, like it's a big still international airport. So we were always traveling through Odessa, right? And Odessa, it's even not Ukraine. They always had its special country inside country, and it was Odessa Mama. We always called even Odessa. It's like a mama. Everybody loves because she's really like a mom. She took
Yes.
care of everybody. So it's very interesting in metaphoric ways as well. But yes, I would like to particularly underline how much you credit your beloved mother for the incredible opportunities and success you could experience throughout your career. And like I said, I was doing my homework properly, so I was unimaginably happy to discover that your mom, your biggest
Yes,
role model,
and
right?
Valeria, I thought I have a beautiful story to share with you and your audience because, yes, I'm a mama's boy, and my mom from the very beginning was always there. But here's a story that you'll love. When I was in high school, my mom had suggested with my talent, she said, Bruce, I think you would love the UCLA Film School. It's a legendary film school in the United States. So I went to the UCLA Film School,
Yeah.
and then the big story is then when I graduated the film school, she said, Bruce, I think you would be great if you got a job at MGM Studios. That's the most famous movie studio in the world. I followed my mom's advice. I got a job at MGM and I was working in the Thalberg building, Valeriya. That's the most famous building at MGM all over the world. So I'm there as a young guy, a very big job. The president of MGM Studios comes up to me. He says, Valeriya, Bruce, I would like you to have lunch with Elvis Presley in the commissary. He says, the reason we have a brand new film, this was 1972, it's called Elvis on Tour. He
Sure,
says,
yeah.
Bruce, I want you to meet Elvis and I want you to handle the publicity with Elvis on this brand new movie. So I went into the commissary, I met Elvis. And by the way, he's the most handsome man that I've ever met. I mean, he just was so handsome. So when I sat down, Valerio, I said, Elvis, we are really going to get along. We are both mama's boys. And of course, Elvis
Exactly.
loved it. Yeah, Elvis loved that because he was known all of his life as a mama's boy. So, yes, I did want to share that story. You know, there's many things I can tell you about my mom, but I met Elvis Presley and my whole career started. He was the very first client in the entertainment industry I ever had. It was thanks to my mom. So I had to share that story with you, Valeriya.
Absolutely, it's adorable. That's why I started our episode by giving a choice to our audience, right? PR from or profit from PR. It's also your quote and Elvis Presley and you, Mama's Boys, and now you have already, of course, uncovered this story because it was on my actually next questions because
Yeah.
um, like Bruce, your career is nothing short of legendary. And yesterday I made a little bit more research, right? And like you said, yes, the first two letters in profit is PR, tremendously cool. But when you can add the first PR client is the King Elvis Presley himself, then I wrote yesterday that actually the first letters can be anything in the world. Latin, Sanskrit, hieroglyphs, it doesn't matter. But if it's Elvis Presley, oh my God. But I'm so happy also you could um, of course made encounter with him and you were working and you are two both mama boys, right?
Yes.
And you said in a lot of interview after about especially his kind soul and empathy and humility, what kind of person he was, right?
Yeah, Elvis
So I
was
believe also
very generous. Yeah, Elvis was kind, generous, polite. He's really one of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. And besides all that, what an incredible entertainer. You know, I did the PR for him right here in Las Vegas. He's legendary for performing at the International Hotel here in Las Vegas. And I probably went to over 500 of his concerts. So, anyway, he was an incredible entertainer.
funny enough, it's actually uh, exactly 2 years ago, uh, exactly this period of time, uh, you know, um, I've I've been and entertained myself on the Elvis stage because now it's Westgate Resort, right? And because I was participated in Mrs. World, and
Yes.
I represented Norway because I'm Mrs. Norway World. And it
Yes.
was so funny because we used to live in this hotel and two very visit parties. It was in his rooftop penthouse, right? And it was so amazing, especially for me because we were also entertaining and had the pre-lime and final on this huge stage where it was his stage 8 years probably. And
I remember it well. And yes, it's now the Westgate. You're
yes, and
absolutely
can you
right.
imagine that my room, my changing room backstage, it was Elvis' room.
Yes, that's
I have so
amazing.
many pictures
I
where,
love that.
yes, it was his pictures and Barbara Streisand. And I was like, oh my God, I'm staying here. And this is my changing room. Maybe that helped me also to win the prize because I became Mrs. World Congeniality. And it was very funny story because I was always helping somebody. It was 70 participants. And it's like 5 hours show, right? And we had a lot of changing of our clothes, and we were in bikini. And afterwards, it should be like traditional costume, and everybody was engaged to change the costume. And I made myself my costume. It was very plain, but like Miss Sri Lanka and Thailand and everybody, they
Uh-huh.
had huge costumes, and I was back them and helping. And at this very time, they were like voting who is actually Mrs. World Congeniality, and I had no idea that it was me. And it's happened all everything very rapidly because it's show online time. It's very expensive, right? And they're like, Norway, where is Norway on stage now. I was like, what's happening? And I'm still in my bikini and I'm just jumping in this bikini backward.
Uh-huh.
Didn't understand, and I didn't know that actually was me to get the award. I was running. I was like, because everybody believed why I'm still in my bikini, but because I was helped, it was funny story.
Oh,
But okay,
that's
we can
wonderful.
we can share it. But I mean, like, life is magic, right? That I am talking to you, and you could meet this great. I don't know. He's the greatest of all, and now I was also there. It's amazing, yes.
Oh, it's a
But okay,
great
let's talk
story. Yeah.
about you. Of course, about you because I can see it like Chinese machine, but I did it. Okay, you have been working with the most of iconic people, right? And we already mentioned Elvis Presley and other people in the beginning. But could you please also share a little bit about the idea how actually you started with speaking bureau, because you have already had PR agency, right? And I know your mom, she was helping a lot. But could you share the story how actually you came to this amazing idea to start
Yeah,
your
I'll be happy to tell you. Uh, After MGM, I was working at MGM with Elvis, but my mom, who again, means the world to me, my mom called me and asked me if I would join her PR firm. And my mom's public relations firm was at a very famous movie studio. And at the time, my mom was one of only two women that had a PR firm in the movie industry. So for the 3 years, I learned PR with my mom. So that leads up, how did I start my Celebrity Speakers Bureau? Here's what happened. One day at our movie studio where my mom and I had our office, my mom heard that Michael Landon was doing a movie scene at our studio. So because everybody knew me, I was able to get on the sound stage where he was filming his scene. When Michael finished his scene, I went up to Michael Landon. I gave him my business card. I said, Mr. Landon, Bonanza was my favorite TV show of all time. I would be honored if I can take you to lunch, Mr. Landon. So very shortly after that, Michael Landon called me. He invited me to lunch. So we're sitting for lunch, and I'm with Michael Landon, and he says, Bruce, I'm so excited. I'm working on this brand new TV series. It's called Little House on the Prairie. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it, because we know Little House on the Prairie became one of the most famous TV shows of all time. So the way the Speakers Bureau started, I had Michael Landon at the Johnny Carson show, The Tonight Show, and he was really popular with Johnny. When he finished the show with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, Johnny came backstage for Michael and me. Johnny says, Michael, Bruce, I want to invite you guys to my home in Malibu. I want to invite you to dinner. Will you come? And Michael and I said, we would love to join you for dinner. So I drove Michael Landon to Malibu, and Johnny Carson, when we were sitting down for dinner, he opened up a Cabernet Sauvignon wine. It happened to be my favorite wine.
A lot of in Ukraine, a lot of in Odessa, very good in Odessa. One of the best.
I love Cabernet Sauvignon. So Johnny is toasting us, with the wine. We all have the wine glass up. He says, Bruce, I've got a great idea for you. I think you should start a Celebrity Speakers Bureau. Now, again, this is 50 years ago. And so I said, well, Johnny, I have a PR firm, but I've never had a Celebrity Speakers Bureau. So Johnny Carson, the legend, he says, Bruce, I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to be your very first client. Then Michael Landon says, Bruce, I'll be your second client. And then the next day, Ed McMahon calls me up. He says, Bruce, I hear you're going to start a Celebrity Speakers Bureau. So this goes back, again, 50 years. That's how it started. And in that very first year, right after that, Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson, some of the most famous sports stars of all time, they became clients. So that's how my bureau started 50 years ago. It's all thanks to Michael Landon and Johnny Carson. I mean, it's a great story.
How old actually were you? Because you said like 50 years ago, and you look so young. So it doesn't. It's something you can't count. Probably you can't count, but not count.
No, you're very
so young.
I appreciate that you say I look great. I'm trying to figure out. I was probably at that time maybe 23 or 24. I was a young man just starting the new business. Now, I never would have started the business if it wasn't for my mom, because for 3 years I learned the entire business from my mom. But I was still a young guy. So what an amazing break that Johnny Carson and Michael Landon helped take me to the heights, because, this was my first year in business. So for 50 years now, I've been booking the most famous speakers and sports stars. But you go ahead, Valeriya.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do believe that Johnny Carson's and pivotal encouragement serve as a defining moment, of course, inspiring you to pursue your vision with confidence. Let's call him like your probably first professional mentor, because the biggest mentor and role model was Mama. But he, like in our modern world, we could call him a professional mentor, right? But I'm sure the most important it was, and it still your genuine focus on embracing diversity as a core value, ensuring that a broad range of voices and perspectives are represented and celebrated in your work. And you have already started touching a lot of different big names like Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson, right? And here I would like to smoothly come to the subject of my podcast, because we are talking about diversity, and it's so incredible in our episode now, because I was blown away. Like when I started reading about your life, and particularly your mom, and you said it just was two ladies at that time. Can you imagine about this gender diversity, right? Because we know it's still male dominance even now in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And wow, PR agency, the very first one, talent ever, and it's a lady. It should be really not just a lady, because it was that still time like mostly American women, it was home wives, right?
Yeah.
So
And by the way, I just want to say, my mom was a real pioneer
yes, yes.
in the industry. She was one of only two women. So, as far as diversity goes, and I just have to share this, when you
Yes.
think about Jackie Robinson, he was the first Negro black
Mhm.
baseball player in all of history. So when you think about diversity, he totally changed the sports arena by
Mhm.
becoming, and all the struggles that he had to go through and on diversity. I mean, just one story for you, but I think you will appreciate this, because when I met Jackie Robinson, I shared with him our family was on a trip. We went from New York to Florida, but we were driving in my dad's DeSoto car. We
Mhm.
stopped in South Carolina back then. They call it the filling stations back then.
Mhm.
And when I got out of the car, the restroom said whites and Negroes. And I went to my mom and dad. I said, why did the Negroes have to use a separate bathroom? So talking about diversity. So when
Yeah.
I met Jackie, I told Jackie that story. He says, Bruce, you're right. Back in the day, talking about diversity, we couldn't use the same restroom, or we couldn't dine in the same restaurant as white people. So talking about diversity, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Exactly, because and I'm so proud uh, to host you today, because like you said, you were like really kind of in shock. Why is it like that, right? And you were also the very pioneer, not just to witness and watch that. You became their voice, really. And I know that Muhammad Ali also, and you through you and with your help, hold a lot of powerful conversation on racism, which offered invaluable insights in the struggles for justice and equality, and
Right.
all that sparked meaningful dialogue and on societal change, right? It's very important, because I was in shock. I was like mind blown when this famous film, everybody loved it, Gone with the Wind, right? And this very beautiful role Mammy was playing, oh my god, I love this role. And she was the very first black woman, right, who won the
Uh-huh.
Academy Award, but she was not allowed to enter the audience. She could not. I was like, is it really, is it
Right.
possible?
And
But
so,
yes, it is.
Valeriya, here's another talking about diversity, because I'm right here in Las Vegas now. Our family moved here in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
I went to see all of the shows, but I'm going to tell you a few very famous names and tell you a diversity story.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Davis Jr., considered one of the most famous and the best entertainers of all time. Lena Horne, Ella Fitzgerald,
Yeah.
Pearl Bailey. I'm just using those four as an example. Back when we lived in Vegas, they would perform at whatever the hotel they were at. They couldn't sleep at the hotel that they performed at. They had to go to another part of the city. So when you talk about Sammy Davis Jr. at the time when he was at the Sands, he was probably the most famous entertainer in the world. So imagine he would do his shows at the Sands, but then he couldn't sleep at the Sands. He couldn't go in the swimming pool at the Sands. This is how, talk about diversity. So way back
Oh
then,
my God.
it's crazy, it's insane. But things started changing in 1957. Frank Sinatra, who I know you know is a very famous person and one of my clients, he went to some of the hotels. He says, this is crazy that Sammy Davis Jr. and Lena Horne and Ella Fitzgerald, they can't even stay at the hotels that they perform at. So thanks to Frank Sinatra, he helped change that. But talk about diversity. Can you imagine? Back then,
No,
talk
I'm
about
sitting with
diversity.
really like, you know, my
Right. No, I understand. So I appreciate what you're doing. The field of diversity is really important. And one last thing, because you were mentioning Muhammad Ali, my client, talking about diversity. When he was the champion of the world, making millions and millions of money,
Mm-hmm.
he did not believe in war. You may be familiar with this. He was anti-war. He didn't believe in killing other people.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 3 years, he didn't box. He left boxing because he was protesting the killing of other people.
Oh,
And when I met Ali, you know, at the beginning, when I met him, I told Ali, I said, you know, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I saw the worst of the worst in war. I really admire and respect your point of view being anti-war. But my point is, when it comes to the area of diversity again, Muhammad Ali was one of the leaders when it comes to diversity, and he was known worldwide. He was probably the most famous athlete of all time back then. But when it came to diversity, he was really strong, you know, about that. So I did want to share that, Valeriya.
yes, amazing. Because, and I'm so happy that you, of course, now present them and you're sharing the story about them, but also, most of all, that you also were the part of that. You were one of the pioneers, not just like, you know, staying and just watching or witnessing. Like, you know, it's two different things where you are into that and you're sharing the, because it's so brave move, like, you know, when to actually to make change and to challenge the society. It's always it's so it takes a lot of bravery, right? And because you are like, okay, white guy and everything, you didn't have to, but it was your choice, it was your conscious choice that
Yes,
you were
but you know
together.
what? Part of my background, and again, which you'll appreciate, because I love hearing about you and your family and your background. I told you about my mom and dad. When we lived in New York City in Queens, this
Mm-hmm,
was really amazing. We lived in a place called Parkway Village. It
mm-hmm.
was a very big community for families of the United Nations. So
Okay.
all of my friends were
Uh-huh.
from all over the world. You want to talk about diversity? One of my best friends was Peter Smart from Sierra Leone,
Leone.
Africa. He's as black as you could be, okay? So he was my friend. Bijan from Belgium,
Mm-hmm.
Etienne from France. I could go on and on. Serge. Uh, so when I grew up, all of my friends were from all over the world. Ming and Ding, it's funny. Ming and Ding were from China. Ming
Mm-hmm.
and Ding. Xavier was from Canada. So it was a very special experience for me to grow up knowing that all of my friends lived from all over the world. I remember Mary Caballero, she was from Argentina, you know? So as a kid, how could I ever grow up with any kind of prejudice?
Yeah.
Diversity was all about what I grew up being, you know?
It's just richness. Yes, amazing. And for me also as well, like, okay, I've been raised in Ukraine. Probably we didn't have that many nationalities. Okay, from ex-republics. But when I moved to Kiev and I started working in hospitality and hotel business, then of course I could meet a lot of people. And for me, it was always opposite. I was attracted to, I was so open always, and I believe it was magnificent that we are so different, so many different cultures and perspectives and languages. I speak now, I master 6 languages. I love languages and culture and and I believe like
Very proud of you. That's
it's
great.
really a rainbow of thoughts, of minds, diversity. It's like biodiversity. Look at biodiversity. It's not just it must be for the healthy ecosystem, but because it's biodiversity, we live in the world now and we still, okay, we need more and more to do for protecting this biodiversity. But then it's, for me, it's ironic why we really embrace biodiversity. We love botanical gardens, we love different animals, safari, right? We love really all
Oh
these
no, you're right. And here's another area of
about
diversity.
people.
Yeah, yeah. For me and my life, I think you're aware. I've had the privilege. I booked every past president of the United States, starting with President Ronald Reagan, and then Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter, on and on. But with President Reagan, the first time that I met him, when he was done being the president of the U.S., he was an example. He really believed in diversity. A lot of the things that he did in the United States
Mhm,
was really for diversity, you know? So he was
mhm.
somebody that I admired and respect. So working with all the past presidents, I think it's great because the United States, it's such a diverse nation,
Yeah,
as
it's
you
very.
know.
Mm.
We call us, when we were talking about my grandparents, the melting cup. You know, they called us the melting cup of the world because we had people from all over the world. So the fact that these past presidents were people that I got to know and book, they believed in diversity, you know, and so again, that was a really nice thing that I thought I could share with you.
Absolutely. And then I believe it's the most important also aspect to when we are talking about diversity, it's about inclusion, right? Because they say like to have diversity, just to invite people in the arena where you can dance, but not invite them to dance. It's two different things. So inclusion, it's so important. That it should be diversity and inclusion all together, right? And that's why I'm trying to really make the impact. And I love actually in this podcast now it's very fresh what's popping in my mind, because you've been discussing with Andrew Lee Guy like impacting lives, right?
Yes,
And I
yes,
believe diversity and inclusion, it's very much about impacting lives. And
totally agree. I totally agree, and I think you're aware in the social media for at least 20 years, I've used that term impact lives because I feel it's a treasure for me. I cherish the fact that every time my clients go out and speak to audiences, they impact the lives of very big audiences. So it's a
exactly.
gift for me to be able to book famous speakers that go out there. And Dr. Wayne Dyer was one of the first, you know, world famous. Probably if we made a list of the one of the five best inspirational speakers, Dr. Wayne Dyer would be one. And I would always tell him after I book him and I was in the audience, Wayne, you impacted the lives of all these people in the audiences. So yeah, that's something that I believe in with all my heart. I love that I can have the ability to impact people's lives. And I love that all of our clients, when they go up and they talk to corporate audiences all over the world, all over the globe, they impact lives. That's a gift. You have the gift of impacting lives. So that's wonderful. I really admire that in you, Valeriya.
Thank you so much for inspiring me, and I love very much. Yes, impacting lives, and it's a gift. Yes, and I really like. Okay, maybe the copycat, but because it's so fresh, and I always know that when I'm talking with a person, you always actually end both teacher and the pupil still. And I'm always trying to gain more knowledge, because knowledge, like you said, and information and what is impacting lives, it's the most powerful tool. Like even you said, Muhammad Ali, he chose to be altruist like Mahatma Gandhi, to show that no, the greatest power still, it's not weapon. Yes, at least even now, it's so painful subject for me. I'm from Ukraine. They still do believe that the most powerful tool still it should be information, it should be education, and knowledge, everything we can spread in like in the manner of impacting life without war, right? And that's why we need diversity and inclusion. We need all together to understand that stronger we are together anyway, and we should stand and raise awareness more and more. Uh, and about this gifting, right? This guy, you have been discussing with him, especially before Christmas and soon is Christmas, that we all kind of ready to open the gifts just sometimes, right? We just maybe wait for the birthday or maybe for the Christmas, but like you have the very special gift from God, right? to meet such great people, to inspire them, to motivate them. So of course you should use your gift every single day. What's exactly you're doing. I hope and wish you have many, many, many years more to
No, I
spread.
agree with you. And also in the musical area, because as you know, with my celebrity bureau, I book the biggest name entertainers in history, you know, in the world. In fact, it's funny. I'm seeing behind me, there's kind of a pink album that I'm seeing. Anyway, that's Casey and the Sunshine Band. Casey and the Sunshine Band, and he's
Mhm.
been my client for years and years and years. And when you think all of his #1 hits, but when I book Casey and the Sunshine Band, and he's famous for the disco area,
Mhm.
he has that same gift in the musical area to impact lives. So our speakers impact lives, but then as well, our entertainers impact the lives as well. And here in Vegas, talking entertainment, I've had the pleasure. I booked Celine Dion, I booked Mariah Carey, I booked J Lo. Those are just three as an example. So
Mhm.
they as well, when they come out and perform,
Mhm.
they impact the lives as well. So that's where I'm able to impact lives with our speakers and our entertainers. So
My,
what an amazing gift.
oh my God! Because Celine Dion, oh, you name it. We will take this subject afterwards. I will tell the story because she
Oh,
was
and
one.
Valeria, there's one more I must mention. Right here in Vegas, I booked Adele. Adele. You know how
Adele, Adele, yes,
Yeah, and
Adele.
you know how amazing she is. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's a gift when I can book the entertainers that impact the lives as well. So
Mm.
a real
And it's
blessing.
because by having this gift in you, you're such a great person with these special values, right? And empathy, and how you still warmly talk about your mom, and you know all this very special set of qualities you still have for this too much modern world. Sometimes of course people still they want to feel that, and you know, because all of these people which now maybe on the big stages and have fulfilled their dreams, but we all know that all these roads they are not without obstacles, and it's big great huge story backwards these people, and they still want to meet people like you when even they have reached there, right? Maybe even more, because then suddenly you have experience another circumstance, and then suddenly it's another problem. Who are actually my real friends? Do they love me or my status? And
Uh-huh.
still to be able to be able to meet people like you with real values, with empathy, and it's a great gift. Of course I understand completely why they would like to be the part of your life, and it's not just about career, because when you're booking them you're so close to them, right? You of course you impact their lives every single day. It's amazing. uh, Now I want to talk about very special subject and a very special type of diversity, which is now emerging type of diversity, just starting people maybe to think that it's not taboo, it's not a shameless, it's not um, something awkward and or weird to talk about. And I would like to talk about neurodiversity or neurological diversity, because it was not before at all. It was just narrative and very bad vocabulary. It's like people with diagnosis, people with disabilities, autistic people, down syndrome people. It's all kind of prejudice and all kind of stigmatization that people are broken, not whole, and people we should stay away from. Why I'm talking about that? Because I'm neurodivergent myself. I have OCD, and you know, before I was also carrying this label many years that I'm not good enough, I'm
Uh-huh.
broken, I'm not whole, I have deficit, I am disabled, handicapped, all those range of things. But happily I found this special definition, which is not official definition yet, but more and more people start speaking about this condition, like neurological diversity, that
And
our brain.
Valeria, I admire that about you, and I think it's so great. But here's a perfect story for you, because sometimes we're talking about diversity and entertainment and people that might have handicaps. Imagine this. I've worked for so many years with Stevie Wonder, one of the most famous entertainers in the history. Now, when we think about Stevie Wonder, he's blind. All right,
Yes.
he can't see. Has the fact that he is blind in any way stopped him from being one of the greatest, musicians of all time? No. So he had a handicap. He was blind, but yet he overcame his handicap to become one of the most famous people. And I've been blessed to work with Stevie. So you go ahead. But just because people have handicaps does not mean they still can't achieve. What if Stevie said, "Oh, poor me, I'm blind. Forget it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm blind." Instead, he took music, to please billions of people, for years. So go ahead. But handicaps never can be in the way of stopping you from achieving your dreams. And look at the dream that Stevie Wonder achieved. So go ahead.
Yes, exactly. And like, look at the same Andrea Bocelli, and so many people now, they are more and more open about that. Like,
Right.
okay, even look, if we are talking about music, look about Beethoven, right? He was, if we say now, neurodivergent, but actually so much great developments and like technical, like Elon Musk, for example, or Bill Gates, and many people, they are so
Right.
open now that they have autistic spectrum, or they have special strength which actually they try to transform. Yes, because of not ignorance of them, but acknowledging that they have it, but how I can transform it to make to the great power, right? Because people, maybe they have lack of something, but maybe it's not a lack, maybe another talent or strength even more powerful. That's why I try to uh, inspire people like me, like maybe I don't know, with a lot of difficult, I even don't want to call it disabilities, I call it abilities, different abilities,
Right. I know.
right?
I like that. And another example that I've been pleasure to work with is Steve Jobs, Apple. Just think what he did with Apple. Now, if
Exactly.
everybody thinks achieving your dream, when you think about what Steve Apple achieved, it's wonderful how he achieved his dream. Yet the struggles that Steve Jobs went through, when all that he had to do to create Apple, he had all kind of failures before finally making Apple a success. So I believe strongly in the power of achieving your dream and never letting any barriers stop you from achieving what you want to do. Don't let that barrier stop you from breaking through the barrier. So I love what you have done with your life, and I really admire and respect that.
Thank you so ever so much. And my dream was also, because I felt kind of, even from my childhood, I was different, but I didn't understand why, and I didn't understand in some points, like, why I probably was given another type of rule book. In some circumstance, I was not bad or good, but I just process information differently. But my goals and aspiration also was kind of different, even from very young age, because I was just 15 years ago, and I knew, okay, one day I don't have now the financial opportunity and everything, but I will come back to my city, Kherson, Ukraine, because I passed by every single day orphanage for kids actually with neurodivergence.
Wonderful.
Yes, and
Wonderful.
I wanted to come back and to adopt kids from this very special institution.
Yes.
And I was
Beautiful.
just 15 years old, but I kind of also uh, could appeal similarity. I don't know what's happened, but when I was talking with my friends, they look at me always awkward. I was like this awkward girl. And but now I believe, like, every single medal has double sides, and I made my dream. Even like I have some challenges with my health, but I came back, and I have done that, and I have beautiful princes now, and one of them also has neurodivergence. But for me, they're the most beautiful gifts in the world from God, right? And I believe, why, if we need that biodiversity, if we love that we are different here, right, and different here, why we cannot accept that? Of course, our brains are also wired differently. It's normal. But
Right.
no, we still need to raise awareness that neurotypical people, it's not the same that they are good enough, but we never divergent, we are not good enough, right? We need to just start speaking more and more, we're just different. It's not disability, like I said, right? It's not disorder. It's disorder, different
Right.
order. It will be my TED talk, actually.
No,
You
I
know?
admire that. I admire that very much.
I will invite when I know the stage, because now I was nominated for so many stages, because you should be nominated by somebody. So when I can the confirmation, so I will be very very honest to invite you. I hope
I
to
think it's
stay there
wonderful.
speaking, because my subject will be from OCD to PhD. You know, PhD. I'm even taking doctor. Yeah, thesis, because I have two master degree, and they told
Uh,
me that I would never ever be a good student. Yes,
So
I
look at what you've achieved. I'm very, very proud. So what's your next question? Go ahead. What's your next question?
yes. So we have been speaking about neurodiversity, and it was the uh, probably most high topic for me. But now, actually, you have that great experience, and for our listeners, because you've been a pioneer, right, for decades. But every journey has its challenges, like I've said, and I already mentioned mine. Could you please share with us some obstacles and challenges you have faced? Because I'm sure all life, yes, all people have them, right? So, and maybe if you could say that, how did embracing diversity could help you navigate these challenges, overcome them? Just openly, you
Yeah,
can.
no, no, no. That's a good question. Again, I've had my company for 50 years, but there was one particular year that was in 1990. It's a while back, but in 1990, that was the worst business that I've ever had, and it was not my fault. What happened was I had three really big clients,
Okay.
monster big clients that were paying really big money. In that very same year, all three of those clients went through bankruptcies. I don't know how it is in Norway or what you call it, but here in the United States, if you're going through a bad time, you file for bankruptcy. Well, I
Yeah.
had three big paying clients, and it was like a tidal wave of terrible luck. All of them did a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That means they closed the doors. These big
Oh.
companies. So not only did I lose a huge amount of money on the public relations side,
Mhm.
but our company also does advertising, and one of the companies left us with being responsible for over $1 million in advertising.
Oh, wow.
They didn't pay the advertising that they were supposed to pay, and
Hmm.
then it was stuck on our company. So anyway, that was the most difficult time that I've ever dealt with, and I sort of felt like I was out in the middle of the water paddling, and these big waves coming over me. But I decided, and again, this is a very long time ago, but I decided that I was not going to allow the misfortune of these three events to affect my business and my life. So I actually, in the next couple of years, really worked hard, and I overcame all the struggles, and we wound up in the end making more money than we had ever made in our lives. But it was a very big obstacle. So I had two choices then. I either could have said, poor little me, oh, what am I going to do? I
Hmm.
give up. I give up. But I never believed in those words of giving up. So instead, we have an expression in the United States. I put my foot on the accelerator. So I put my foot on the accelerator like a
Okay.
race car. You put your foot on the accelerator, and instead of letting that crisis crush me, the crisis didn't crush me. It wound up making me stronger.
Hmm.
So that's the first thing that I thought about, because when you're living your life, it doesn't always just go up, 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 up. It's a roller coaster. Our lives emotionally, it's like a roller coaster. In business, it's a roller coaster. So you have to be able to deal with those dips and still struggle and get out of it. So
Hmm.
anyway, I definitely overcame that, and I was very proud of myself because I never felt that I was the type of person that would give up. So that's what came to my mind.
Amazing, amazing. So, um, Yes, and Bruce, before we start wrapping up, so usually I have tradition to ask about one question, but before that, I would like to ask one. Do you have any specific story or some small details you could share about I'm still there about Elvis Presley that no?
Yeah, well, one story that I'll share about Elvis, because I spent so much time with him. And by the way, I'll answer your question. But
Yeah.
right here in Vegas, Elvis loved horses.
Okay.
So here in Las Vegas, because I was living here, we have a beautiful stables where they have amazing horses called the Twin Lakes Stables.
Okay.
So they had two beautiful golden palominos. So I would take Elvis with me and we'd ride these golden palominos and we had the best time. But one story that comes to mind immediately with Elvis, everybody knows him for his rock and roll, of course. I mean, he was such a famous rock and roll singer and, again, one of the most famous rock and roll singers of all time. But
Mm-hmm.
one story that I'll share that a lot of people don't know, he was brought up in a very religious, spiritual home. He went to church all the time. He
Mm-hmm.
recorded many gospel albums.
Mm-hmm.
And many times he said, Bruce, as famous as I am for all of my rock and roll music, I want people to remember me for my gospel albums because that's my heart. My spirituality is in
Mm-hmm.
my gospel albums. And if your viewers or listeners anytime want to go out and buy some of his gospel albums, I think that they would really, enjoy that a lot. The other thing with Elvis that stands out, he was a Southern boy and very, very, he was humble. Even though he was a star, he was humble. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember him telling me the first time when I was working with at MGM, he says, Bruce, I really believe that my generosity should be able to thank the people that surround me. So, as an example of this sharing with me about his generosity, any time he did a film, I worked with Elvis on all of his movies, all of them. Viva Las Vegas is one of my favorite movies. At the
Mm-hmm.
end of the shooting of the film, he would give the most generous gifts to everybody that was part of the production. Watches. I mean, I'm not talking about a lollipop. He would give
Yeah.
really generous gifts. So he had such a heart that he believed in being able to thank everybody by giving them gifts to say, hey, I really appreciate what you do. And it wasn't all just the bigwigs, the electricians, the grips. He made it a point of giving gifts to everybody. So that was another thing from Elvis that really, really inspired me a lot. So certainly the gospel albums, something that I treasure that he did share with me. And then the fact of be generous with everybody, leave them with a smile. That was one of his expressions to me. I like to leave the people with a smile, whether it's my shows or I'm working on a movie. I like to leave them with a smile. And boy, did he have a beautiful smile, Valeriya. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. I will put in my special wide brain 2G gospels and generosity. For me
Yes.
also, I have a motto in my life that by taking, you feel in your hands. By giving, you feel in your heart. I'm heart giver. I'm giver. I'm not taking. That's for sure. So it resonates for me what you are talking about here. Okay, thank you ever so much. It was just fantastic, magnificent speech. And last tradition I have, I was my idea just to pop up a little bit special before Christmas. We all need more magic, especially now in very challenging time worldwide, right? So, and we still believe in magic, and I believe, and in of course magic, fairy tale, but fairy tale it's all like our life. And one of my favorite fairy tales, it's about Aladdin and this lamp, of course, genie lamp with wishes, right? And so beautiful musicals, of course, in Hollywood and Vegas. And if I was your genie, Mrs. Genie from the lamp, but he was the guy with big opportunities, 3 wishes. But this is a twist. I can grant you just one wish. what would that be? Just one
I'll
wish
tell
for
you what came
me.
to my mind immediately. And again, I shared with you, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I saw the worst of the worst circumstances. I'm going to answer your question, but I had the answer immediately. When I was in Vietnam, among other things, during that time I was in Vietnam, my best friend was mortally wounded. He died in my arms. And when I was in Vietnam, I saw the terrible things that happened to women and children. So my answer would be world peace. That was an easy thing. As soon as you asked that question, my thing would be, oh my God, could we please have world peace? Because we were talking earlier how important you know, Russia, Odessa is for my family, for those people there in Ukraine to have peace after all that they've gone through. I mean, the horrors of war that they've had there in Ukraine, but world peace, it breaks my heart when I see in different places of the world the killing and the destruction of women and children. So it was an easy answer immediately as soon as you were asking me that question. It would be for world peace. God, why can't we have world peace? And then of course I just thought of the Beatles and John Lennon. Imagine a world when there's peace. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that's something because I being in Vietnam, I saw the worst things in war that you could ever possibly imagine. And nobody should have to experience what I saw and went through in Vietnam. I think you may be aware 56,000 people in Vietnam died. My friends, 56,000 people there died. What a shame. So to have world peace, that absolutely would be my wish. Yes.
Let's pray together and join our efforts in praying and just imagining with the praying and do everything. Yes, thank you so much. It was so
Yes.
deep answer, of course. And thank you again for joining us today. And your journey, like I said, insights have been nothing short of inspiring. And then I don't need actually to ask any final thoughts for audience because now we conclude it's about peace, of course, global peace. And
Yeah,
thank you
but
for our.
I also I do want to share. You have the ability to inspire and motivate, and I definitely see you on platforms all over the world because you have that gift to motivate and inspire people and impact lives. So I did want to share that. You're amazing. You inspire me. So it was a pleasure to guest on your podcast. A pleasure.
Thank you so much. Then then we are a couple which made each other uh, happy today. And yes, then it's gift for me to have you, and right, and it's gift for you to experience that. That's how we really like love actually and attention and just a little smile when you share it. It's like you wear a candle light. When you light another light, is less light for this candle?
Right.
No, it's the
Right.
same for love, attention, and just simple smile, right? If you give a little bit more, and actually it doesn't take much time, so
Yeah.
we could really save this world. So let's do it more together, right? And I think that our audience, I would like to thank them so much. I hope they will be enjoying this episode, epic episode. I was looking so much forward. And of course, thank you so much for staying with us in Diversity is the Game Changer. And please, all who can hear us, remember, in a world united by kindness, empathy, and inclusion, where every individual feels valued and empowered to contribute, collective embrace of diversity would not only lead to greater understanding, but also to the celebration of our unique differences, transforming them into power. Thank you for staying with us. And until next time, and me and Bruce, we still have something to discuss.
It was an honor and privilege. Thank you so much.